Hey guys, and welcome back to the Science of Exercise. In this video, I'm going to debunk the myth of turning fat into muscle. So first we're going to have to explain the differences between muscle and fat, both in structure and in function. So functionally, fat is meant to produce energy or used to produce energy in the body. So when we're talking about just kind of strolling around, low intensity exercise, just kind of daily activities, fat is a primary source of energy or ATP production. So muscle functionally helps provide the framework for movement. If we didn't have muscle, we wouldn't be able to move our body in any way, shape, or form. It would just kind of be a sack of bones, right? We would just be standing there. So muscle kind of connects across what we call joints and allows for movement to happen. Now there's a lot of other things that help promote that movement, but without muscles we wouldn't be able to generate movement. Structurally, fat is stored in the form of triglycerides, either in IMTG or intramuscular triglycerides. So those are kind of stored within the muscle, and it's also stored in what we call adipocytes, which is fat cells. That's kind of throughout the body. Muscle structurally is composed of proteins, and the two main proteins are myosin and actin. There are a bunch of other ones that we're not going to speak about just to keep this brief. And the way that those actin and myosin work, they actually help create what we call a sarcomere, which is our smallest functional unit of a muscle. And the way that works is it helps produce those contractile forces that we see in a muscle. So for instance, we have a bunch of actin and myosin working together to pull those muscles tighter or lengthen them or hold them what we call isometrically. And lastly, we'll talk about the differences metabolically between fat and muscle. So fat, when broken down, it goes through a bunch of different processes. Eventually, it gets sent to the mitochondria, which is what we know, the powerhouse of the cell, right? And it's broken down and used for energy production to produce ATP. So when we think about muscle metabolically, we're either thinking about muscle being gained or lost. Muscle is gained through what we call muscle protein synthesis. And that happens when we have a net positive balance. When we have a net negative muscle protein synthesis balance, we're going to be losing muscle. This is constantly happening throughout the day. That's why we say try to keep protein high in your diet. That way we're keeping muscle protein synthesis up. To summarize what we just talked about, we have fat. How can fat actually turn into muscle? When we talked about the structure and function, when it's broken down, fat is used as energy, not protein, which synthesizes muscle protein synthesis, which helps muscle grow. So those two things don't really have connection now. Fat can help produce energy, which can allow us to work out harder, which allows us to then lift weights and stimulate muscle protein synthesis and gain muscle. But fat structurally turning into muscle structurally, it doesn't happen. Until next time, guys, this is the Science of Exercise. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and like.